In this video, I will go through the major English releases of visual novels in 2019, as well as some of the smaller titles I just wanted to add to the list. In January, Manga Gamer released a DLC for Kindred Spirits on the Roof named Kindred Spirits on the Roof Fall Chorus. This includes full voice acting and new CGs. From what I understand, Kindred Spirits is about two lesbian ghosts on a school roof that aims to make a Eurotopia by creating lots of lesbian couples at the school where they died. This they do by helping girls in love figure out their feelings for each other. Given the high rating, I would say that this is a must-buy for those with lesbian ghost fetish. Sekai Project released 9-9 Episode 1. This is a supernatural murder mystery, and each of the episodes focuses on a different heroine, but they share the setting and world. It has a decent rating, so if a murder mystery combined with cute girl sounds like your thing, it's probably something you'd want to pick up. I haven't seen any major complaints on Steam, so it's nice to see Sekai Project not screwing things up. Hello Goodbye, released by Nekonian Soft, is a sci-fi mystery visual novel where the main character is a young military officer from the United Province of Japan that is tasked to, under a false name, infiltrate an academy as a transfer student. It has a fairly decent score, but it seems like nothing special. I also wanted to mention titles from Meal and Norn, released by Cherokee Games, even though they're rather small titles with low scores. From the three Meal/Norn titles I've read, they've all managed to disappoint with regards to writing and characters in ways that makes the hate scenes much less interesting than it should be, based off of the art and setting of the scene. In January, Cherokee Games released Deviant Dungeon, which is an Isekai Nukiga. Based on my experience with Meal and their general visual novel database score, it is probably rather crappy. Neko Miko, released by Quartet, is a short VN about two catgirl shrine maidens located in a small shrine in Akihabara. It doesn't seem like anything special, but at least it has mixed together multiple things that appeal to us degenerate otaku. In February, Manga Gamer released the otome visual novel Steam Prison. Considering the lack of otome outside of mobile VNs, I would say this is quite nice for those into otome. The general plot for Steam Prison is that the main character live in a utopian city, but then someday find out that the rest of the world is an overworked shithole. Frontwing finally managed to deliver on the release of Grisaya Complete Box after just slightly missing their estimated release window, which is Q4 2017. While some people might think that over a year seems a lot, the unfortunate reality is that having a 1-year delay on shipping a physical VN that has been backed by Kickstarter is actually rather short by the standards set by Sekai Project and Frontwing. As for the release itself, the complete box is an expensive but really fantastic release, with lots of extras, like for instance a large art book with lots of great illustrations. Nekonian, as promised, released the fan disc for Fureraba. From what I can see, it's a fun, light-hearted slice-of-life VN with some drama and lots of romance. The fan disc is not considered as good as the original, but most likely it should be a nice read for those who've read the original and want more of the characters. Solpress released Under One Wing, a VN focusing on warplanes. The main character is the grandson of a legendary FF pilot, and started at an academy that used to reign supreme in fairy fight championships, which I assume is some kind of fighter plane competition. Other than focusing on warplanes, it also has 4 main girls, which seems to each have their own quirky personalities based on their descriptions. So it seems to be a fairly decent read for those who want warplanes and cute romanceable girls. Soul Press also did a Kickstarter for the trilogy of Irotoridori by Favorite. The initial goal for translating the first VN in the trilogy Irotoridori no Sekai was barely reached. As for the others, it seems like there's still a plan to release them at a later time. As for the description of the first VN, the main character has the power to heal any injury somebody has, but this is done in exchange for his own memory. This seems like something that has quite a good potential for an emotional story, which, based on its high rating, I assumed it succeeded in. Moe Novel released a fan disc for If My Heart Had Wings. This is another butchered release by Moe Novel, but at least this time they just picked the fan disc of something that they've already ruined. On the positive side, this translation might make someone make a fan patch where they add the removed content like they did for the original. March was a rather uninteresting month for VNs with only 2 titles that I thought were notable. One is the release of Lilycle Rainbow Stage by Manga Gamer, this being a highly rated all-ages Yuri VN with really cute artwork and a lot of couples. The other being Inugami Doggy Dojo by Cherokee Games. This time the fetish is Dog Girl. In April, Manga Gamer released Trinolin, which has the main character encountering an android that looks just like his dead sister. It seems to focus on androids and emotion, which generally should be something with a lot of potential, though the VN isn't really all that well received, despite its good artwork and being from the well-known company Minori. Manga Gamer also released a physical copy of Magical Marriage Lunatics. The premise for the VN is that the main character got isekai'd sometimes when he was young and visited 5 different worlds and forgot about them when he returned to his own. In these worlds, he met with the princesses of each of the worlds, which happened to be roughly his age, and they fell in love with him and made a pact to marry him. Years later, they all turn out pretty much at the same time with hopes of marrying him. As for my thoughts on the title, I think the common route was rather weak and it didn't really embrace the inherent absurdity of the situation. However, I think the different heroine routes worked rather well, with some of them being really good. Frontwing released the 6th volume of Grisaya Phantom Trigger, which I guess is nice for the fans of the Phantom Trigger series. While it does have the Grisaya name, it does not seem to share any of the characters, but only shares the same universe. While the series seems fairly well received, I do think it is a bit of an annoying move for them to call it Grisaya, when it clearly has little to do with the original trilogy. And it seems primarily to just be a marketing move using the popularity of the Grisaya trilogy. Breeding Village from Cherokee Games. This time the fetish just seems to be that there are lots of girls. For some all-ages Yuri action, there is Nurse Love Syndrome. When the main character is roughly 10 years old, she nearly dies in a traffic accident but is saved due to nurses. Later, she decides to become a nurse herself as a way to save tanks. So if you like nurses and you like Yuri, this is probably a title for you. And they've also released Nurse Love Addiction previously, so yeah, you can check that out as well if nurses and Yuri is your thing. Our World Is Ended seems like a sci-fi VM with a major focus on AR technology. And there is something about saving a city from being rewritten by AR. So anyone that's interested in AR technology should probably check it out if they like visual novels. In May, Manga Gamer released Damekoi the Most Forbidden Love in the World, which has a main character whose life goes to shit with him losing his job, girlfriend, and etc. At a bar, an attractive woman approaches him to cheer him up. The woman runs an apartment complex in the prestigious part of the city and invites him to live there. However, when he gets there, the apartment complex is run down and she's gone off with some man, and he is left in the care of her daughter. The description also mentioned eccentric neighbors. The title is fairly well received, though to a lot of people what is probably the most interesting thing is that it's written by the author of White Album 2. Sankaku Renai, released by Necrononsoft, seems like a seinen love triangle with two love triangles, one between sisters, one being blood-related and the other being non-blood-related, and one with a senpai and a childhood friend. It seems to focus on a casual school club that focuses on otaku things, and it seems to have a fair share of meta jokes. For instance, one being where a character says which shoujos you need to take to get her ending. Well, the score doesn't seem that good. I personally think the premise is interesting, and I've seen a lot of funny screenshots from it. World End Syndrome has a main character with a troubled past who has caused the death of his older sister. He transfers to a new school, but the city he moves to has the dead come back to life every 100th year, and it happens to be roughly 100 years since the last time. Then somebody dies and this causes shockwaves through the city. Hemoimo, released by Faku, is for those who think incest isn't degenerate enough. Why just have incest when you can also have hemorrhoids and incest at the same time? In June, Manga Gamer released The Expression Amrilato, which is an all-ages Yuri title about a girl who gets isekai'd to another world where she doesn't understand the language. The VN focuses on language and communication, and is an educational VN that teaches people Esperanto. Of course, Steam's reaction to this was to ban it quickly, as they just saw lollies and figured lolly equal ban, without considering the fact that it didn't have sexual content and it was educational. Later, GOG accepted the VN and laughed at Steam for rejecting it, and then Steam later changed their mind and let it onto their platform. Happy Maher got a physical release. The VN seems to have mysteries involving lucid dreaming, and seems rather interesting and is fairly highly rated, so it's great to see it getting a physical release. Funbag Fantasy Side Boob Stories, gotta love the name, also got a physical release. The Funbag Fantasy series is considered some of the best Nukige out there, so it's probably worth picking up for anyone who wants a good Nukige. From Cherry Kiss Games, there is Commander Babes, which has hot Sengoku-era generals summoned to modern Japan, which of course have sex with the main character. While the premise seems interesting with someone from the past being sent to present time, I am fairly certain that Norn somehow manages to screw it up. Princes and the Stray Cat is a well-regarded VN, though unfortunately it got a censored release. It is quite sad seeing titles with fairly large fanbases and a good score get content cut from its release. Based on discussions on Steam, it seems like the translation is at least good or decent, so other than the cut content, I guess the release isn't horrible.